Ines was always so dedicated to her morning workout routine, but she found herself constantly distracted by the man who always seemed to be one stride ahead of her on the treadmill. She had never seen him before, but he had the kind of presence that made it impossible for her not to notice him. He was tall and lean, with tousled dark hair and a winning smile. Every time she caught a glimpse of him out of the corner of her eye, she felt a flutter in her chest. One morning, as they were both stretching out after their run, Ines finally mustered up the courage to say hello. "I feel like I've been running in your shadow all month," she said with a charming smile. The man chuckled, shaking his head. "I don't think that's true at all. You're doing just fine on your own." Ines fought back the disappointment that her bold move didn't play out as she hoped, but kept her confidence up. "Thanks, but I think I could use some tips." The man looked at her, amused. "You know, I was going to ask you the exact same thing." Ines couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement at the man's response. She had expected him to brush off her request, but instead, he seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her better. The witty banter flowed effortlessly between them as they exchanged workout tips and laughed at each other's gym mishaps. As the weeks went by, Ines found herself looking forward to their morning encounters more and more. Their conversations became longer and deeper, filled with playful teasing and shared secrets. It was clear that there was a connection growing between them, an unspoken longing that lingered in the air whenever they were together. But just when Ines thought she had finally found someone special, life threw her a curveball. She received news that she had to travel to another city for work for an indefinite period of time. It felt like a cruel twist of fate, tearing her away from this newfound connection just as it was blossoming. On the day of her departure, Ines boarded the crowded bus with a heavy heart. As she scanned the sea of faces, searching for an empty seat, her heart skipped a beat when she saw him. That good-looking man who had occupied so many of her thoughts lately. Fate seemed intent on playing its own game, bringing them together once again in this unexpected moment. The bus was packed with passengers, all squeezing into every available space. Bags were crammed overhead, and people stood shoulder to shoulder in the narrow aisle. Ines managed to find an empty seat near the back, hoping for some solitude during this bittersweet journey. But fate had other plans. Accidentally or not, it happened. He sat beside her. The electricity between them crackled instantly as their bodies brushed against each other ever so slightly. Ines could feel his warmth seeping through their clothes and sending shivers down her spine. As the bus rumbled along, Ines couldn't help but steal glances at the man sitting beside her. His presence was intoxicating, and she found herself yearning for more than just a casual conversation. The air between them crackled with unspoken desire, creating an electric tension that made it hard to focus on anything else. Ines shifted in her seat, feeling a bead of sweat trickle down her temple. She knew she had to do something, anything, to break through this wall of anticipation that surrounded them. With a coy smile playing on her lips, she casually let one button of her blouse slip open, revealing just a hint of skin. She pretended not to notice when his gaze flickered towards her exposed décolletage before quickly darting away. Oh no, Mr. Mysterious couldn't resist stealing a glance at what he thought was hidden from view. Enos wasn't done yet. She subtly stretched her arms above her head and pretended to yawn, making sure the fabric of her blouse fell open even further. She could feel his eyes burning into her as he struggled to maintain his composure. "It's getting hot in here," she said flirtatiously, fanning herself with a magazine. The man cleared his throat nervously and adjusted his collar. I think you're even hotter," he replied with a lopsided grin. Enos laughed softly under her breath and leaned closer toward him. "Well, then," she whispered seductively into his ear, "maybe you should do something about it." His gaze met hers for an intense moment before he finally gave in to temptation. Slowly and deliberately, he reached out and brushed his fingers against the back of Enos's hand, a fleeting touch that sent shivers down her spine. "I think we both know what needs to be done," he murmured huskily. Enos felt a jolt of electricity shoot through her body at his words. The bus was filled with sleeping passengers, oblivious to the simmering desire that hung in the air between them. She glanced around, her heart pounding with anticipation. This was either going to be the most exhilarating or embarrassing moment of her life. The man's gaze was intense and unwavering as he leaned in closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Are you sure you're ready for this adventure?" he whispered, a mischievous glint in his eyes. A playful smile danced on Enos's lips as she met his challenge head-on. "Adventure? Oh, darling, I've always been a thrill-seeker," she replied with a wink. With silent agreement passing between them, they slowly rose from their seats and made their way towards the back of the bus. Each step brought them closer to an unknown territory filled with longing and desire. Their hands brushed against each other subtly as they navigated through the dimly lit aisle. Finally, reaching the last row of seats, Enos couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement mixed with nerves coursing through her veins. Are you enjoying the story? Can I have a small request? Please take the time to like and subscribe so we can continue making stories like these. Now let's go back to the story. Finally, reaching the last row of seats, Enos couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement mixed with nerves coursing through her veins. This clandestine act held an allure that neither of them could resist, an escape from reality into a realm where only they existed. Enos turned to face him, feeling her heart race in sync with every beat of their shared anticipation. There was no need for words. Their eyes spoke volumes as they locked onto each other's gaze. And then it happened. Their lips crashed together in a passionate collision that sent fireworks exploding behind closed eyelids. It was like time had stopped. All that mattered was this moment and the intoxicating connection they were creating. Their kisses grew deeper and more urgent, fueling the fire burning within them both. Hands roamed freely over heated skin as clothes became mere obstacles in their path toward pleasure. Enos couldn't help but moan quietly at the tantalizing pleasure the man was giving her. Their bodies moved in sync, each touch igniting a fire that consumed them both. The bus ride seemed to stretch on forever, as if time itself had become their playground. Eventually, exhaustion took hold, and they fell into a peaceful slumber, wrapped in each other's arms. They slept soundly, undisturbed by the world around them, until they reached their destination. As the bus came to a halt, and passengers began to stir awake, Enos reluctantly pulled herself away from the man's embrace. There was an undeniable connection between them, but they hadn't exchanged names or any personal information. It was like a dream she didn't want to wake up from. With a heavy heart, Ines gathered her belongings and made her way off the bus. She felt a sense of wistfulness as she stepped onto solid ground, knowing that this could be the end of their unexpected encounter. But just as she reached into her pocket for her phone, she felt something else there. A small piece of paper tucked away discreetly. Pulling it out, she discovered it was a calling card with nothing more than a name scrawled across it. His name. Her heart skipped a beat as realization washed over her. He had slipped this card into her pocket before parting ways. It was his way of leaving behind a trace of himself in her world. Ines couldn't help but smile at his playful gesture. She wondered what he looked like now. Tousled hair falling across his forehead, or that winning smile lighting up his face. What adventures awaited them if they were to meet again? The possibilities swirled through Ines's mind as she clutched onto that simple calling card, like it held all the answers to life's mysteries. She knew one thing for certain. This encounter had awakened something within her. It had ignited a longing for more, a desire to explore what could be.